Hello students, welcome to Top Scholars. Today we are going to start again with a very interesting topic, which is heredity. This is a topic of CBSE science subject, right? So what are we actually going to discuss here again? We will be discussing about your previous year questions. That is from the year 2019 to 2023, 5-year questions. If we talk a little bit about heredity, it is such a fascinating subject, right? You must be wondering why you have your eye color little similar to your father or your hair type similar to your mother. Ever wondered? Ever had that question? Definitely you must have had. And while you were studying this topic, you must have got the answers to all of these questions, right? So into this topic of heredity, we understand how these characteristics are inherited from the parents to the offspring, in plants, animals, and a lot of living organisms. So, coming back to our previous year study, we will be discussing from the year 2019 to 2023 and we will be understanding all the different types of questions holding different marks, that is from 1 to 5 marks individually, right? And how many questions were asked and total marks which they actually hold for. So, for the year 1 mark question, in the year 2021 you had 2 questions and in 2023 you had 2 questions again. So, total 4 questions holding 4 marks for you, right? Then we have 2 marker question. In the year 2021, there was 1 question and same goes for 2022. So, total you have 2 questions holding 4 marks for you. For 3 marks, you had 1 question in the year 2019. So, total only 3 marks for you. 4 marker questions were around 1 question in the year 2023 holding 4 marks. But 5 marker questions were 1 in the year 2020 and 1 in the year 2022, holding total 10 marks for you as there were 2 questions. So as you can see, there is a segregation or division for the questions for all the different types. Like you have 1 mark, 2 marks, 3 marks, 4 marks, 5 mark questions, all the different types of questions are asked. And many times you would also see students, the questions get repeated, the concepts get repeated. Every time there are a few concepts which you need to remember into this. We'll talk about this into detail as we move forward into the video. So let's start. So here we have the graphical representation for the same, correct? So you have 3 marker question, 1 question in the year 2019, 2020 also you have 1 question which was a 5 marker question. For year 2021 you had 2 marker question as well as a 5 mark question. So total 3 questions you had. 2022 in that you had 2 questions and in 2023 you had total 3 questions. So like this was a division of different number of questions which were asked, and by the graphical representation it makes so easy for you to understand that definitely these questions are coming into the topic and you need to prepare well for this, and I'm pretty sure you have already done that. So let us begin by understanding a few different types of questions for each and every paper that we have here. The first is CBSE year 2019 paper. Okay, so this is a very short answer type question, students, holding 3 marks for you. Let's go to the question first. You have to name the plant Mendel used for this experiment. So it's a 3 marker question, right? So they have asked the very first question, just name the plant. Very easy, you know, it's a pea plant, correct? By the time we finish about this topic, you will be able to realize a few things about what all concepts you need to pay more attention to. What type of progeny was obtained by Mendel in F1 and F2 generation when he crossed tall and short plants, and write the ratio he obtained for the F2 generation. That's it. You have to write what is the progeny which was obtained and write down the F2 generation ratio. Or you can also go for another question which is list 2 differences between acquired traits and inherited traits by giving an example of each. If I tell you briefly about what are acquired traits, as the name suggests, you are acquiring it. Okay, you are acquiring it from the external environment. Whereas inherited traits, the name suggests itself, they are getting inherited from one generation to another generation. So you are getting that from your parents, correct? So such type of traits are your inherited traits, while acquired traits will you are acquiring by the environment. For example, the skin color turning dark because you are working a lot during the sunny times or during the day times outside, tanning basically. So you have acquired that skin color change. It was not inherited, correct? Whereas having an eye color or hair color type or the height, all of these are your inherited traits because these are getting inherited from generations to generations. So just you have to state the differences and give an example of each. Correct? Let's go ahead. Next we have for the year 2020, it is a long answer question which is for 5 marks, right? So ideally students, the distribution is remaining the same for each and every mark that they are asking for. Here you have to just state what is law of dominance, okay? Then you have to explain it with the example, right? And second, what are the traits acquired during the lifetime of an individual and not inherited? You remember? We just did that question in the year 2019 paper and it is a similar question in the year 2020. That's why I was telling you at the beginning, you will be able to understand what all concepts are getting repeated here, right? So, the traits, acquired and inherited traits, important topic. You should definitely do that. Here we have law of dominance that you have to explain with an example. So, just state what is the law of dominance, correct? That means you have a single gene. If it is dominant gene, it is present, it is going to express itself. For example, if we talk about the pea plant, correct? Into this pea plant, we have 2 traits. One is a tall plant having a dominant trait. Then you have a recessive trait, right? So, if you have this trait which is present, if capital T is there, it is going to express itself. Even if you have a recessive allele, the dominant trait is going to express itself, right? That explains the law of dominance and you have to explain with the example. You can give the example of pea plant. Great. You will be able to clear 5 marks very easily just by mentioning these 2 things. Then coming to the year 2021 paper, this is a very short answer type question giving you 1 mark and you also have option for that, right? Give an example where variation will help an organism to survive into the changing environment. Depending upon how the environment is changing, according to the change in environment, there is a variation. So, you have to give an example for that, right? Or we can also go for, if we observe the ear lobes of the students in the class, which variant are they likely to find? So, for example, about the earlobe, as you can see here right now, the earlobe is separated from the face. There is a variant you would find among the population that the earlobe is like this stuck to the face. So, you can also check this for yourself and around you, correct? So, if you observe the earlobe, what type of variation that you would find among the population? That's what you have to mention here. So, a very short answer type question, 1-liner answer question, and you will be good to go. Similarly, we have also the same very short answer type question into the same paper giving you 1 mark. Define heredity. Right? So, the basic thing that you have to know about this topic, definition of heredity. So, just to read the definition term, specific definition term, and you will get easy 1 mark for that. Next, for the same paper students, you have another question, right? This is a short answer type question giving you 2 marks in total. So, the first question says, label 1 and 2. You have to label 1 and 2 in the given diagram showing the sex determination into human beings. So, you have to label 1 and 2 into this diagram, correct? And if a child inherits X chromosome from the father, what will be his or her gender? You have to just state that. So, students, as we know that in sex determination, it is the father's chromosome who is going to decide it, correct? So, see, for example, here we have this particular sperm having an X, this particular sperm having the Y. But all the egg cells which are formed will be having only X chromosome. Why? Because females have the sex chromosome as X and X. So, no variety formed. Whereas, for males, it is X and Y. So, they are forming the variety here. Correct. So, they will produce 2 types of gametes. But here, they will produce only 1 type of gamete. Female will give you only 1 X chromosome gamete. Correct. So, if male X chromosome fuses with the female X chromosome, this will be a girl child. Whereas, the male Y chromosome fuses with the female X chromosome because they have only X, this will be a boy. So, what is the question asked for you? If a child inherits X chromosome from the father is inheriting the X chromosome, correct? From mother, they will definitely get X. They don't have any other option. So, as they are getting X chromosome from father, it will inherit and the sex of the baby will be a girl or a female. So, it will be a female child. And you have to label 1 and 2 into the given diagram showing sex determination into human beings. So, here these are the sperm cells, correct? And here this is forming a zygote This will be an egg cell. This is also forming a zygote. That's it. Next is from the year 2022 students. Again, we have a short answer type question holding 2 marks. Correct? Let's go to the question first. Here, what is variation? List 2 main reasons that may lead to variation into a population. We just discussed about the question about that year low. It's a variety, it's a variation. Can you see, students, we are repeating the questions from a specific topic. So from heredity, up till now you must have understood that variation point is very important. Acquired and inherited characteristics are also very important. So concentrate on those topics very much. Okay. Now the second thing, by the end of this video you will also be able to get out about a pattern of one more type of concept. So in a cross between the violet flowered plants and white flowered plants, state the characteristics of the plants obtained into the F1 progeny. You have to just state the characteristic over there. And if the plants of F1 progeny are self-pollinating, you will get your F2 generation. What will be observed over there? That's what you have to state here. And if 100 plants are produced into the F1, F2 progeny, then how many plants will show the recessive trait? So to answer this one question, what you have to do is just one thing. Do the Mendel's Punnett cross using a Punnett square. That's it. By doing this, you will be able to easily get the answer for all of these questions here. And rather, that is even faster. Writing the whole paragraph, writing the pointers for everything, just put down into a Punnett square. Even if you represent it that way, you will definitely get marks because your answer is represented into that Punnett square. So for that, you have to just understand the cross. If you understand from all of the questions that we have solved, second thing, knowing the Mendel's cross is also very important. If you just know how to do that, you can answer any question. Any type of question, no matter what characteristics do they give you, you will be able to answer them. So Mendel's cross is also very, very important. Then again from the year 2022, you have a long answer question which is of 5 marks. Okay, let's understand this question. The mechanism by which the sex of an individual are determined is called as sex determination. Again, we got one question previously also related to sex determination, another question, right? In human beings, the sex of a newborn is genetically determined, whereas in some others it's not. There are total 46 chromosomes, that is we have in all 23 pairs, correct? Out of these, 44 or 22 pairs are controlling the body characteristics like hair type, hair color. So there are certain characteristics which are going to control the body characters, right? And there is one pair known as a sex chromosome which is going to be determining the sex of the individual. The sex chromosomes are of 2 types, X chromosome and Y chromosome. Now, when there is fertilization happening, depending upon which type of male gamete it fuses, right? Remember, male gamete will have X and Y. So they can produce 2 types of gametes, X gamete, a gamete having X chromosome and a gamete having Y chromosome. So depending upon which gamete from the male fuses, the sex of the child will be finalized. It fuses with the female gamete, the sex of the newborn child is then decided. Now you have the questions related to this paragraph only. Why is the pair of sex chromosome of human beings called mismatched to the pair in terms of type and its size? Why it is different here? That's what you have to state. Out of males or females, which of them has a perfect pair of sex chromosomes? Which is having a perfect pair? In case of a perfect pair, will the gamete produced be of the same kind or of a different kind? What will happen then? Will be producing the same kind or of the different kind? That's what you have to explain here, correct? So out of males or females, which of them are having a perfect pair of chromosomes? In case of perfect pair, which gametes will be produced of same kind or different kind? It's very easy, correct? You just have to know a few concepts about this. Name the 2 animals whose sex is not genetically determined. Explain the process of their sex determination. Okay, there are certain animals, for them you cannot determine their sex by having the genetic information. There is a different way for them. You have to explain that process. Okay? So this paragraph will give you a basic gist from your perspective. You need to answer this question. Also, you have an option. Let's look at the option here. Or you can state, with the help of a flowchart only, show how sex is genetically determined in humans. If I was supposed to answer that question, I will definitely pick this one. This is even simpler. Again, you have to just mention the Punnett square. You can answer it into the form of Punnett square. It gets really easy, right? So it is a long answer question giving you 5 marks, but they are asking you just the sex determination in human beings. Super easy question. Just mention what are the, for father and for mother, you have X and Y chromosome, X and X chromosome, correct? So the gametes, X, Y, X, X. Put this into a Punnett square, you will be getting a 50% probability of having a boy or a 50% probability of having a girl. Now coming to the most recent paper, that is 2023 paper, correct? So here the question is a multiple choice question giving you 1 mark, correct? Now let's understand the question here. The statement that correctly describes, always mark such points or else you will get confused, correct? So statement that correctly describes the characteristic of what a gene is, right? What is a gene? Gene is certain sequences onto the DNA responsible for the characteristics. So you have to find out the correct statement here. The options include, in individuals of a given species, a specific gene is located onto a particular chromosome. A gene is not the information source for making proteins into the cell. Each chromosome has only 1 gene located all along its length. All the inherited traits in human beings are not controlled by the gene. So what they are asking you to determine the correct statement here. Correct? So depending upon what information you have about the genes, you can actually eliminate a few options, even going into depth or even reading them minutely about the question. All the inherited traits in human beings are not controlled by the genes. Genes will control everything. Your genes are only getting inherited. Eliminate the option clearly. Each chromosome has only 1 gene located all along its length. No, a chromosome can have multiple genes, right? So again, eliminate this option. An individual of a given species, a specific gene is located onto a particular chromosome and a gene is not the information source. Gene is the information source. Gene is responsible to make all the proteins into the cell. Eliminate the option. You got your answer. I don't want to read that sentence again because I know rest of the sentences are incorrect. So always to answer a multiple choice question, students, it's a better way to eliminate the incorrect options. Sometimes you will be also stuck, okay? It's not that you will be always getting the answer into a minute, but that will minimize your options to think of. You don't have to now think about the 4 options, you might be just left with 2 now. Yeah, let's go ahead. Now you have an assertion-reasoning type of a question, which is a multiple choice question. Let's go for the assertion statements. Genes inherited from parents decide the sex of the child, and the X chromosome in a male child is inherited from his father. Okay. So you have to understand the statements here and answer accordingly. You are provided with assertion reasoning, whether it's true, whether it's false, and whether it's a correct explanation or not. But if you read into this, if you just have the basic knowledge, the X chromosome in the male child, X chromosome into the male child is inherited from his father. So a female is having the chromosome X and X. Correct? The male is having the X and Y. The gamete which is provided by the female will be always X, be it a girl or be it a boy. The mother can only provide the X chromosome. Okay? If the X chromosome comes from the father, correct, then it will be a female child. And if the X chromosome, Y chromosome is coming from the father, then it will be male. Correct? So the X chromosome in male child is not coming from the father, or it's not inherited from the father, it is inherited from the mother. The X chromosome is inherited from the mother. The Y chromosome is inherited from the father. So reason is incorrect. Okay? By this you can clearly eliminate the option, correct? So you can say that your assertion is true and the reason is false. You can easily get your answer now. Another question here is a long answer question, students, okay, which is for 4 marks. So here you have to trace the inheritance of traits. So what Mendel did, Mendel crossed pea plants having one contrasting character or a pair of contrasting characters. So when he crossed plants having round and yellow seeds. Okay, he is taking two characteristics at together. Basically, he is doing a dihybrid cross here. So we are taking two characteristics, round yellow seeds with having wrinkled and green seeds. We are considering the shape of the seed and we are considering the color of the seed. Two characteristics at once. We observed that no plants with wrinkled and green seeds were obtained in F1 generation. All the plants when he crossed, nothing like green with wrinkled and green seeds, that is both of the recessive traits were not observed into the F1 generation. When the F1 generation tea plants were crossed by self-pollination, the F2 generation had seeds with a lot of different combinations and colors. So, you have to write any two pairs of contrasting characters of the pea plant used by Mendel other than mentioned above. So, they have given you two characteristics, that is the color of the seed and the shape of the seed, that is round and yellow, wrinkled and green. So, apart from the color and the shape, you have to mention any two characteristics. Mendel also observed the flower color, pod shape, pod color. All of these traits were observed by Mendel. Mendel observed 7 traits. You must have observed a table given into your textbook. Memorize that table. It will be really helpful. Differentiate between dominant and recessive traits. Okay, you have to just differentiate what is the dominant trait and what is the recessive trait. State the ratio of combination observed in the seeds of F2 generation. What do you interpret from this? You have to just mention what result you are getting into the F2 generation and you have to interpret from this. If you observe this question, students, the above two questions are not even related from the situation given. They are asking you very basic information about this Mendel's inheritance. Yeah, the last case they have asked you regarding the paragraph which is provided, which you can easily answer if you are able to do the Punnett square. That is Mendel's monohybrid and dihybrid crosses. That's it. So up till now you have understood you need to know about the variation, you need to know about acquired characteristics and inherited characteristics, and you need to know about Mendel's monohybrid and dihybrid cross. Another question given below is a cross between a pure violet pea plant, again a cross, and a pure white flower pea plant. Okay. Diagrammatically explain what type of progeny is obtained into the F1 and F2 generation, and you have to just state what will be the result of it. So again, it's a long answer question giving you 4 marks, students, but you just need to do the cross here and you will be good to go. Okay, students. So one more concept that you need to memorize along with these mentioned concepts is about the law. Mendel gave us a few laws to study about the inheritance. We call them as laws of inheritance or Mendel's law of inheritance. Definitely, in some or the other way, the understanding of those laws will also help you to implement your knowledge into a lot of these questions. Okay. Now it's time to practice some of the questions which we find like a little bit difficult. So this is a question you have to label 1 and 2 into the given diagram. Sex determination, and if a child is inheriting X chromosome from the father, what will be the gender? Okay. So for this one, you can see that we are having a sperm from the father and the ovum from the mother. The sperm will be producing 2 types of gametes, that is X and Y, whereas the mother will be producing only one. Correct? So as the father is able to produce 2 types of gametes, if the father X chromosome fuses with mother X chromosome, it will be a female child. But if it's a father Y chromosome fuses with the mother's X chromosome, it will be a male child. And X from father. So X from father, then the child will be genetically a female having XX chromosome combination giving you a girl child. And also you have to label 1 and 2 into the given diagram. So 1 will be a sperm formation from the father and 2 will be the ovum from the mother. Next question is, what is variation? You have to list 2 main reasons that may lead to variation into a population, or you can also go for the other question. Let's answer the first one today. So here the answer that you would see, the differences into the characteristics of an individual in the population is known as variation or variety. What is variation? There are differences. For example, your skin color will be different from mine. Your hair color will be different from mine. Right? So these are the differences. We both have hair, we both have skin, but there are differences into these characteristics. And these differences into the individual population is known as your variation, correct? And what are the reasons which are causing these variations? The reason here is recombination and mutation, which is leading to variation into the population. Just two important terms that you need to understand here, children. First is recombination. You must have learnt about the recombination process which happens during your meiotic cell division. Whenever your gametes are produced during the meiosis, okay, by doing this meiotic cell division, there is a step where crossing over will happen, giving you recombined DNA. So that is your recombination, a new variety, a new variation is formed. That is the reason you are having certain characteristics similar to your parents, but you still have your own unique features. And that is also the reason you are having some characteristics similar to your siblings, but you still are different from your siblings. Both of them you have a unique characteristic. Recombination is the answer to that. Mutation. Mutation is basically any kind of random change into your DNA or random change into your genetic material. If there is a random change happening, definitely it will lead to a variation. Let me give you an example here. So let's say this is a gene. Okay? Onto this gene, we call it as a gene A. This gene A is responsible to produce a protein A. And because of this protein A formation, the flower color comes out to be purple. That is the normal feature for it. But let's say due to some reason there was a mutation into this gene. Now this gene A has mutated. So this green color represents the mutation. Here it is now mutated. Now as it is mutated, correct? Instead of producing protein A, it is able to now produce protein B. Because of this change or mutation, now the flower color is turning out to be pink. So because of this mutation, now we are getting a variety. Now we have two options into the flower color, right? So recombination and mutation will lead to a lot of variation into the population. Let's try the B section of this to answer. In a cross between violet flower plants and white flower plants, you have to state the characteristic of the plants obtained into the F1 progeny, and then if the plants are self-pollinated, what will be the result, and if 100 plants are produced, how many will show the recessive trait. Let's answer one by one. First answer. If you have violet color plant, violet capital V denotes it's a dominant trait. Then you have white color plants, small v denotes it's a recessive trait. So what will happen when you are going to make a cross between them? So let's try to put this into a Punnett square. So violet color flower will produce all the gametes having only capital V gene. That is your violet color gene. Whereas the white color will produce the gametes like this, all with recessive gene. Correct? If you try to put this into a Punnett square, all of the plant's children will be same color. All of them will be violet. Why? Because that's a dominant trait. You are having a heterozygous gene here. And into the heterozygous gene, the dominant trait will be expressed. Right? So all the plants will be having violet flowers, but not pure plants. It will be a heterozygous combination, having a one dominant allele and another recessive allele. Now, let's go for the answer for the second question. If the plants from your F1 generation are self-pollinated, so what will you get the result? So what did you get the result into the F1 generation? Capital V, small v. You have to make a cross between them. So how would you make a cross? Now these plants will have two different types of gametes. One will be capital V, other will be small v. Correct? So if you try to put this into a Punnett square, so we'll be getting this one as pure tall, this flower as heterozygous tall, this flower as well as heterozygous tall, and the last one as recessive. Correct? So if the plants of F1 progeny having the genotype capital V small v are self-pollinated, then the white flower plants and white flower plants will be obtained. But if you are observing the phenotypic ratio, children, the phenotypic ratio gives you that there are 3 violet plants and only 1 white plant. So you get the ratio of plants into 3:1. Clear? Now, answering the third question. If in all you have 100 plants, so how many will show you the recessive traits? You already got the ratio into the previous answer, 3:1. So out of 100, okay, 3 parts are for your tall plants and only 1 part is of your recessive trait, correct? So you have 100 in total, okay, and you divide it into the ratio 3:1. So 3 sections, that is 75 plants, will be for the dominant trait and only 25 plants will show you the recessive trait. So your answer will be 25. Next question is again from the year 2023. It is a 1-mark question. You have to, in the statement that correctly describes the characteristic of the gene. So an individual of given species of a specific gene is located on a particular chromosome. A gene is not information source for making proteins into the cell. Each chromosome has only 1 gene located along its length, and all the inherited traits in human beings are not controlled by the genes. So for the answer, students, we know that the correct statement is your A statement, right? Why? Because the individuals of a given species for a given specific gene are located onto the particular chromosome. B is incorrect. Why? Because the gene is the information source for making the protein. You cannot say that gene is not having that information. The C statement is incorrect because each chromosome has many genes located along its length. It's not just 1 gene. And all the inherited traits are controlled by the genes. So again, your B, C and D statements will be incorrect and your correct answer comes out to be A. So students, I hope this was helpful and you have understood it well. All the questions that we have practiced today. Apart from these questions, if you find any other question which is more difficult, do write us into the comment section. Like, share and subscribe for more such videos. Until next time, thank you and happy learning.